Martin Scorsese's 2004 film The Aviator portrays the life of Howard Hughes from the late 1920s to 1947, in which he became the world's wealthiest man, a successful businessman, and an aviation pioneer, all while growing more unstable due to severe obsessive-compulsive disorder said to be brought on by various airplane crashes. The film begins with the scene of young Howard being washed by his mother and warned of the dangers of germs. The soap she uses reappears later in a scene where Howard intensely washes his hands. In reality, his mother, Aileen Hughes, did get hysterical about germs and often would inspect his body and repeatedly wash him. However, his phobias were not all her fault, as the movie tries to suggest. Sometime in his youth, he contracted syphilis, a detail not shown in the film that led to tiny blisters forming on his hands. After being diagnosed, he avoided shaking hands with people and burned all of his clothes in fear of germs that lingered on them. But in the film, this episode is attributed to Katharine Hepburn breaking up with him. The movie shows the production of the silent film Hell's Angels beginning in 1927. It is accurate in showing Hughes' ambitions to make it the ultimate film about air war. The film actually cost $9.5 million, not $4 million, as said in the movie. The movie accurately shows Howard pouring himself and his cash into the film for 3 years against the advice of his advisors such as Noah Diedrich, who he hired to run Hughes' tool company. The Aviator also accurately shows Howard hiring a meteorologist and grounding production for months while waiting for suitable cloud formation to film with, and halfway through the production of Hell's Angels, Hughes decided that silent films were outdated and decided to scrap much of the footage and reshoot it as a sound film. The film's premiere in the movie uses actual footage from the real premiere of Hell's Angels and shows the film's success, but it does not mention that Hell's Angels actually lost $1.5 million.
6 months after the stock market crashes and after the death of 3 of his pilots, he's finally unveiling his $4 million baby doll.
The most expensive movie ever made. Nothing 5 and dime for our Mr.
Hughes was quite the playboy in his time and slept with many Hollywood actresses, many who are not mentioned in the film. Katharine Hepburn and Ava Gardner are the main focal points in the movie, and Hughes did date them, but there are inconsistencies. Hepburn left Hughes before she met Spencer Tracy, not after, and the scenes of Hughes and Hepburn at her parents' home in Connecticut are fiction. Furthermore, Ava Gardner is referenced before she had even entered films, and one scene has Gardner telling Hughes she's dating Frank Sinatra when they did not start dating until 1949. Although his audition of Faith Domeru was fake, as the film shows, she was in fact 15 years old when they began dating. Howard's first wife, Ella Boates-Wright, is not seen or mentioned in the film, although Hughes was married to her when he made Hell's Angels. Neither is his lover at the time of his marriage, Billy Dove. Ella filed for divorce in 1929. After securing contracts with the Army Air Forces for 2 projects, by 1946 Hughes had only finished the XF-11 reconnaissance aircraft. On July 7, 1946, Howard was involved in a near-fatal aircraft crash. He took the prototype XF-11 for a test flight, but one of the engines malfunctioned, causing him to crash into a Beverly Hills neighborhood near the Los Angeles country club he was trying to land in.
He failed to make a crash landing on a golf course.
I'm gonna try for the Wilshire Country Club, not tall, you read me?
Wilshire Country Club, copy that. Howard, reduce engines to 1,000.
Ah!
Following his near-fatal plane crash, in 1947 Hughes spent more than 4 months in a studio's darkened screening room. He lived on chocolate bars, chicken, and milk, and relieved himself in empty bottles. Hughes also wrote detailed memos to his aides on yellow legal pads, giving them explicit instructions not to look at him or speak unless spoken to. Surrounded by dozens of Kleenex boxes, which he continuously stacked and rearranged, Howard sat fixated and often nude in a chair watching movies. When he came out in the spring of 1948, he had not bathed or cut his hair or nails for weeks. May of 1939 is when Howard Hughes first acquired stock for nearly $7 million in Transcontinental and Western Airlines, which later became Trans World Airlines, or TWA, due to urgings from its president, Jack Fry.
Safe up there. An airplane with the ability to fly into the substratosphere, across the country, across the world. Now that is a future. You with me? All an interest in TWA cost me.
Call it $15 million.
That is a chunk of change, huh? You call Noah Dietrich. You have him start buying.
In 1947, Ralph Owen Brewster of Maine was chairman of the Special Senate Committee investigating defense procurement during World War II. He claimed concern that Hughes had received $40 million from the Defense Department without actually delivering the aircraft he had been contracted to provide. When Hughes testified before the Senate War Investigating Committee, he aggressively combated the inquiring Brewster, alleging corruption on Brewster's part. In Noah Dietrich's words, Brewster was an errand boy for Juan Trippe and Pan American Airways, who pushed for legislation that would give Pan Am the single-carrier international air monopoly for the U.S. The movie also portrays Brewster similarly as corrupt and in the pocket of Pan Am, the rival of Hughes' TWA. Brewster denied Hughes' allegations and made several counter-claims, but by the time the hearing ended, Brewster's reputation had suffered greatly. However, this was a victory for Howard Hughes.
And I have stated several times that if it's a failure, I'll probably leave this country and never come back, and I mean it.
Overall, the committee had made a disastrous misjudgment. They sought to prove that Hughes had profited from his wartime contracts, when in reality, he had poured millions of his own dollars into the projects.
In 1944, Hughes won a government contract to design a large flying boat that could carry both people and supplies to the war in Europe. The Spruce Goose, the largest plane ever constructed, was flown successfully in 1947 and then never flown again.
Let me hear it. 25 miles per hour. 30. Here we go. 60. 65. 70. 75.
Overall, Martin Scorsese's film does accurately show the life of Howard Hughes from 1927 to 1947, but with some inconsistencies and vital information left out. The Academy Award-winning film shows the triumphs and struggles in the life of one of the greatest men in modern American history.